back to BNG Hockey, where it's always black and gold. The Boston Bruins have been in a fair amount of trade rumors this season. The first was Alex Chiasson of the Edmonton Oilers. They had interest in him at the beginning of the season. There was talk about a 1-for-1 for Anders Bjork, but that didn't really go through, and recently Chiasson was put on waivers, and the Bruins didn't claim him, so I think that story is over. Then they moved on to Keith Yandle of the Florida Panthers. He's had a little bit of drama going on with Coach Q down there, but he's recently been playing really well, and he has a pretty big cap hit that would be tough for the Bruins to add. So it's not totally done with the Bruins and Yandle, but it's seeming more and more unlikely that he ends up coming to Boston. The recent rumor is the Bruins having interest in Jake Virtanen of the struggling Vancouver Canucks. That team really needs to start making a trade, and it's sounding more and more likely that they're going to start shipping some players out to bring change to that locker room. And it sounds like the Canucks might be interested in Jake DeBrusk. We're going to talk about this potential trade rumor, what the package might be. I'll give you my thoughts on the deal and throw out some packages of my own. Let's get started. Definitely don't think this would be a 1-for-1 trade, but these are the two names that are out there right now and the biggest parts of any package going either way. So I figured we'd start off by comparing the two players, then I'll give you my thoughts and some potential trades between the two teams. Let's start out with Jake DeBrusk. He's a 24-year-old 6-foot left shot left winger taken in the first round of the 2015 draft, 14th overall. He's played in 209 games, scoring 62 goals, 59 assists for a total of 121 points. His best season was his rookie season when he scored 43 points in 70 games. This season with the Bruins, he has been injured, but he will likely be back in their next game. He's played in 6 games, scoring 0 goals and 1 assist. He's signed for this year and next at a cap hit of $3.6 million, and he will once again be an RFA at the end of that deal. Taking a look at Jake Virtanen, he's a 24-year-old 6'1" right shot right winger, taken in the first round of the 2014 NHL draft, 6th overall. He's played in 291 games, scoring 51 goals, 45 assists for a total of 96 points. His best season was last season when he put up 36 points in 69 games. This year with the struggling Vancouver Canucks, he's played in 12 games, scored 1 goal, 0 assists, and he's signed for this year and next at a cap hit of 2.5, and he will also once again be a restricted free agent. Taking a look at the two players, they do have some similarities, starting off with their draft position. Jake DeBrusk was taken ahead of Matt Barzal, Kyle Connor, and Thomas Chabot. Jake Virtanen was taken ahead of Nikolai Ehlers, William Nylander, and Dylan Larkin. The players I just mentioned are young NHL stars, and Virtanen and DeBrusk really aren't close to that level of play yet. They're both still 24 and could grow into that potential, and it's not their fault that they were taken ahead of those players, but you would hope they'd be a lot further along. They both have shown signs of becoming that player, however. Last season, Virtanen had 18 goals and 36 points. That's a career high, so you could argue that he continues to get better, and he is played in a bit of a smaller role in Vancouver, so that's impressive that he's putting up those stats. Jake DeBrusk had a 27-goal season, and he continues to get better and better for the Bruins, but it is concerning that injuries keep popping up and that his best season points-wise continues to be his rookie year. Another big problem with DeBrusk is he's consistently inconsistent, and that's why he's always finding his name in the trade rumor mill. Same thing with Virtanen. People don't like that he's inconsistent, he can't stay in the top 6, and some question his work ethic. But I think if both players had a change of scenery, that would help them quite a bit, and they would finally reach their full potential. I should point out, you've heard my thoughts on Jake DeBrusk before. I do like Virtanen as a player. He has a good amount of speed. I think his shot is pretty solid. He was taken 6th overall, so clearly he had all the tools, and at one point a GM thought he could be a superstar. I don't know if he'll ever reach that level, but I think he is a very good player, and that a change of scenery and a bit of a bigger role would go a long way for him. Even though I get frustrated by DeBrusk, and I am not against trading him, and I do like Virtanen, the Canucks are going to have to trade in some draft picks or extra players into this deal to make it work for the Bruins, and for me as well. If they are going to tack on another player, there's someone who's potentially available that the Bruins might be interested in, and that's local boy from Braintree, 24-year-old Adam Gaudette. He's signed for less than $1 million this year and will be an RFA after this season. He's played in 132 games, scoring 19 goals, 28 assists for a total of 47 points. This year with the Canucks, in 12 games, he has 2 goals. Now, those stats don't jump right off the page, but he's a pretty solid middle six player. Maybe he could even play on the fourth line for us and just give us more depth. He brings energy, a little bit of a scoring touch, and I would like to see him replace a guy like Chris Wagner or Anders Bjork in our lineup to give us even more depth. He is a local boy. You know how the Bruins love to bring in their local kids. You see a guy like Jack Roslovic going to Columbus. That's where he's from, and now he is sparked. Now, Roslovic is a lot better prospect, but I see a player like that, and I say that Gaudette would not only leave that Canucks locker room, which is a really bad atmosphere right now, he would go with Virtanen, a guy that he knows, and come into his hometown team. And that would only help him and motivate him, and I think that would make him a better player as well, and he's still young enough that he could develop into maybe even a third-line center for us in the future. All in all, the point being, I'm not trading DeBrusk 1-for-1 for Virtanen, so if the Canucks want DeBrusk, you're going to have to add. Now, this Bruins team has been on a roll right now, so maybe they don't want to trade Jake DeBrusk, and I'm fine with that. In fact, I think if you're trading DeBrusk, you might be able to get more from another team that values him a little bit more. So who knows? If the deal's right, I would make it, but let's say they can't figure out a deal including Jake DeBrusk, but they still want Jake Virtanen. They could still get him, and I think a package of Anders Bjork and John Moore could work for the Canucks. Maybe the Bruins have to throw in a 4th-round pick or something like that. I'm not going to get into the too fine details, but Anders Bjork, another 24-year-old player, signed for this year and 2 more at a reasonable cap hit of 1.6, and then he's also an RFA. Teams always love to have that team control. In 119 games, he has 14 goals, 22 assists, 36 points, and this year he has 0 goals and 2 assists. He has been a lot better of late, but he has been one of the Bruins' worst players overall this season, and it wouldn't be a loss, and it definitely wouldn't be as big of a loss as losing DeBrusk. And John Moore has not even cracked the lineup. You got guys like Clifton coming in over him, Saboro coming in over him, and he would make the salary cap work because you add on Virtanen's 2.5, and Moore going out would save you 2.7. And John Moore is signed for 2 more years. The Canucks defense is horrendous right now. I don't know if John Moore would save that, but it could definitely help and give them a little bit more depth. It would make the salary cap work, and then they get 2 pieces for 1. I don't know if the Canucks would want to do that. That's entirely speculated on my part, but I think this would be a reasonable deal for the Bruins, and honestly, I think it would be a reasonable deal for the Canucks, who really don't have that much leverage right now with how bad their team is playing and how much they clearly want to move on from Virtanen. Bruins are an absolute wagon right now, so I don't want to mess with the chemistry too much or trade that many players out and ruin the momentum that we have currently. But you have to remember this year is a little bit different. If you're making a trade, especially getting a guy from Canada, it's going to take them a while to get here. It's not like it used to be where you trade a player and he's on your team the next day. So if the Bruins are thinking ahead here and they think they need a little bit more depth and a little bit more scoring, which I think they do, they need to start making that trade sooner rather than later so that player can be in the lineup for them. And all in all, I think if the Bruins can steal Virtanen from the Canucks, they should absolutely do so. And I don't know if Jake DeBrusk is the player to move, but I think there's plenty of trades that can be made, and maybe they even go after a guy like an Adam Gaudette instead. Who would you like to see the Bruins get? Who are you willing to trade? Are you more interested in Virtanen? Are you more interested in Gaudette? Leave that down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big like, and if you haven't already, subscribe.